Yeah, but mine is Italian Polish. This is 100%
So they did good, then I'm glad. And where does she go, Seminole Ridge? Where is she going to school?
Western Pennsylvania.
Ready?
She goes to Seminole Ridge next year.
Yes.
Good evening, and welcome to the September 23rd meeting of the Los Angeles Groves Town Council. If we could have a roll call, please.
Mayor Browning.
Here.
Vice Mayor Darrell.
Here.
Councilman Goldenay.
Here.
Councilman Liang.
Here.
Councilman Rocket.
If you would stand for the pledge, remain standing for the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Heavenly Father, again, we thank you that we've been protected from any storms so far. Protect us from any flooding. We pray for those that are serving our country overseas, that are fighting in Syria and Iraq, and just watch over them. Give us a good meeting tonight. We pray in your name. Amen. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make that.
Okay, Ryan makes a motion. Is there a second? Second by Jim. Discussion by council. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Moving to the consent agenda.
Make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Okay. Yeah, we have a, all right.
I want to make a motion that we pull consent agenda item B for discussion, please.
Okay. And the only thing that I was thinking too, we've got three items on there that might be good to bring out. I mean, I always think that if we have renewal of contracts, really shouldn't go in consent agenda. It should at least be, brought forward so nobody thinks we're trying to slip something through. I mean, my thought. So, can we pull A, B, and C out of there?
Mr. Mayor, A and B apply to what you're saying. I don't think C applies.
Okay, that's fine.
Leave C in the agenda.
A and B, is that all right with everybody?
And I'll change my motion to pull under consent agenda item A and B from the consent agenda
Okay.
for discussion.
Who made the second? Is that right? Okay, but you're all right with that? Tom made a second.
Oh, you raised it. All right, I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign, motion passes. All right,
So that was just the poll, was that to approve consent agenda?
with the two items pulled,
Okay, so see if.
as modified.
4-1.
4-1? 4-1. All right, moving to, we'll have the public comments, and then we'll, I guess proper procedure would be to cover these two items.
You can do them before public comment. They're right there.
Okay. Real quick, Mark, you want to give us a review on we've got the paperwork. Stuart Taylor?
Yes, Stuart Taylor, it's the same agreement as last year. There are no changes from a monetary standpoint. Everything is pretty much the same, other than just the fact that it's been rolled over for this coming fiscal year.
So no increase.
No increase.
Okay. All right, I'll entertain a motion to accept their,
I'll make that.
okay, second?
Second.
Okay, further discussion by council? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign? All right, motion passes 5-0. Moving to B, renewal of Frank Shiloh's contract.
Again, Your Honor, same situation. There have been some, obviously some budget changes that were made, but the contract itself pretty much remains the same, including the scope of services, which also includes the public works services that was an amendment 2 years back.
Okay. All right, motion to, Ron?
Mark, up to today's date, how much money have we spent on the public utilities contract? I know we allotted $25,000. What have we spent so far?
No, it's been north of that. I don't have the exact number. Do you know off the top of your head?
27 and change, is a reimbursement or a reduction in waste grow that offsets that, almost that entire amount.
So a little over 27,000 we have spent. Now, Frank does a very thorough job, and I like it when he can penalize Waste Pro and get his money and stuff back. But Frank gets paid by the hour. Okay, I expect him, he knows Waste Pro inside and out better than anybody that I know. And he does an outstanding job. But he's getting paid by the hour for that. Now, we as a council agreed 25,000. So that's why I think it's time that we went out for an RFP. And that's why I wanted it brought up for discussion tonight. Because we are getting higher and higher. No matter how we get our money back, that job classification is getting higher and higher each year.
Okay, council members?
Question, can you break that 27 down between how much of it is reimbursed? Because we, as I understand it, we incurred additional costs because of the problems that the Waste Pro caused. And we're fine for that. The approximation of how much, because when you look at 27, we talked about this a couple months ago.
Right.
It's not like you just spent over 25 because we just spent over 25. We had a situation where we've offset this.
While Bill's looking for those numbers, let me just make this comment. You're absolutely correct. The Waste Pro had a rough start, and they did put a lot of time in on the waste monitoring side. In addition, there are a lot of requests that have been occurring on his time from the Public Works Company. And that's, I guess I agree with the Vice Mayor Gerald, where he's saying that, between, doing some tree trimming while we have no contractor, he's been doing some of those roads he can do. But he does a number of things. Right now, he's working with me on 6th Court North. I mean, there are a lot of Public Works related assignments that he gets in addition to putting the signs up and all those things. So I think all those various assignments have added up. And then, whether Frank remains our public works contractor or we decide to do something else, there is still going to be a heavy demand for whoever is doing that work. Maybe the waste monitor can possibly get done. I mean, they've had several good months. In meeting with Waste Pro, I was able to get them. Like I told you in several other meetings, they funded Track Easy for us so that we track ease, so we can monitor those kinds of issues. From time to time, there's still an issue on here.
Mark, speak out.
No, I'm sorry.
Please.
Okay, so, that they have gotten better they got off to a horrendous start. I know that when I met with the CAO, he told me he was concerned that maybe a lot of the new folks that they took on just didn't have the culture that Waste Pro had, because, I checked into Waste Pro and they, the reviews are good, in many other places, so I was concerned why we were having these issues. And, he made a pledge to me that he was going to try to fix it, and we had several good months. So hopefully we're on that trend. But Frank does a lot of different things, or I should say that position will do a lot of other things, from changing light bulbs to helping out town hall in terms of what we need in that office building. You get what you need to do? Okay, he's ready. Did I stall one? Yeah.
Okay.
It took a little while. It appears as though through August, it was 22,194, all in solid waste. The other $3,000 or $4,000 spread amongst public works and streets, transportation. Most of it being in the transportation of the balance. The solid waste has been the biggest problem and the biggest issue.
And what were the fines about? That was one of the things I asked if we could see it separately so we always could look at that, but I thought the fines were pretty substantial.
Well, they were around $25,000.
I mean, you can almost go through there and say we wouldn't have had 20-something thousand through August if we didn't have a terrible start. You might have had half that. Well, when you net the two, you do net the two against.
Maybe 3,000 to the good if it's 25 and 22.
That's one of the problems, you can't see it, so we really can't tell. Where do we put the negative or the charges?
We actually, I thought we were footnoting it in the solid waste fund, because, year-to-date fines were 21,600. That is, that's from the budget from August 31st.
That's
So
the fines.
what we reduced from Waste Pros 21,600 through August.
There's a few more,
So just to clarify, where we show 27,000, that's already has 21 removed from it?
No,
No, so what you're talking about is there's no netting reduction in the 27.
yeah, right, correct.
But we've got a lot of expense the early part of the year, we got $21,000 in fines. A lot of the reasons for when we're getting those fines, were we had additional work that we were sending Frank out to do. So if you look at the two as a net, then if you would look at it, which you probably need to somehow relate the two. If you have a lot of fines, you have a lot of extra work. And if you really look at that number, then it's probably much lower than we think, or than we look
Oh,
to see.
I'm sure that, given the latest fines, I suspect that it's not supposed to be a profit-making venture, but we probably reduced the cost to Waste Pro greater than the income or the cost of him. I think we're in the plus side
Okay.
with the latest ones that I've heard about.
All right. Any other comments by council members? All right, I'll entertain a motion in a second, and then I've got two public comments for this. Someone want to make a motion?
I make a motion that we extend, renew our Shell's contract.
Okay. Second by Tom. Now, a quick question for you. I know it's on two and Taylor's, it's a 1-year extension. Is this also a 1-year extension?
Yes, sir.
I didn't see that. Okay. I've got two public comments. John Ryan, and then I've got Keith Harris.
Just because you didn't hear me, yes, it's a 1-year term.
I heard you. Thank you.
John Ryan, 3508 Bay Road. The discussion between Jim and Tom brought out the important point that I think we have discussed at least 2 prior town council meetings, which was the amount of problem we had with Waste Pro and the amount of time that had to be spent to document in terms of pictures, dates, calls, other verifications, because Waste Pro and no other contractor just accepts discounts and fines without a lot of questions and answers. The point I would offer in addition is that Frank is very aware of the problems throughout the district that we've had with manure dumping. And he has worked, I've seen the kind of work that he's done with the DBSO environmental crimes people, and in his work with Wellington to coordinate their restrictions on manure hauling with our ordinance and our concerns and problems. And I think that that has been a significant effort, and a lot of that has not been billed time to the town. That's been Frank's a combination of meetings that he's gone to on behalf of the town, is compensated, but a lot of the other work has not been. So I would just offer that as an additional reason that his experience with the manure dumping, which is a very important issue for the district and the town. And I think that it's been brought out before, but Frank did serve on the advisory board of Solid Waste Authority, and that working experience and relationship with SWA has helped with our Waste Pro contractor significantly.
Thank you, John. Keith?
Keith Harris, 2580 C Road. As y'all may recall, Frank and I have had a little altercation from time to time, but I will share with you that Frank is a dedicated Waxahachie Village resident that has worked tirelessly to make this a better town. He has worked with various agencies, as Supervisor Ryan has stated earlier. I think it would behoove us to review a contract with Mr. Shiloh and continue to receive the fine service from Loxahatchee-Rose residents. And gentlemen, I ask you to consider that. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. All right, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Passes 5-0. All right, moving on to public comments. And I've got Keith Harris and then Mark Herzog.
Keith Harris, 2580 C Road. I respectfully request that connecting Canal Road be placed back into the capital improvements budget. It is my understanding that a mile of Place Ojum is a cost of $177,000 per mile. Collecting Canal Road is approximately 3 miles long with a half a mile that's already Ojum. And I want to offer a cost scenario for you. So let's work with a budget estimate of $600,000. One idea to reduce the cost is to consider Ojum alternatives. Another idea for the town to take control of district roads, the right-of-way deed for the equestrian trails, rescind all interlocal agreements, and terminate all contracts with the district. Severance with the district will produce at least $100,000 in savings. Secondly, remove the Okeechobee and D Road traffic light from the CI budget and save $290,000. These two actions are savings of $390,000, which will result in reducing the $600,000 figure down to a manageable $210,000. Collecting Canal Road becomes dust-free. The property values increase by $40,000 to $50,000 for each of those properties, and the property owners will pay a per-acre assessment similar to the existing Ojum Road property owners, plus they'll be paying an increase in ad valorem taxes. The town pays the balance. Mr. Mayor, it's time for council to develop a town roads policy so they'll be in place for the acquisition of district roads. Please make the district's sole purpose for existence to be in the management of drainage issues within their boundaries, period. Secondly, do not fund the traffic lights on Okeechobee, as Okeechobee is a county road. Let the county pay for it with Minto impact fees. If the light is that important, work for it. Petition the county instead of just spending the town's money. Funding of the traffic light will be an act of council to defy public opinion. Grove citizens do not want the traffic light. Some council members' response will be that my claim is unfounded. In response, I will say, Mr. Mayor, I would respectfully request the following petition be made a matter of public record. We, the undersigned, oppose the town's funding of a traffic light in the amount of $290,000 on Okeechobee Boulevard. Okeechobee Boulevard is a county road and responsibility. The petition contains signatures of 292 registered voters. Given more time, the number of signatures will grow. The 390K scenario will allow council to see to the needs of the residents of Connecting Canal Road. May I leave you with a Virginia Tech motto, Ad Coastum. Thank you kindly. I would like this to be made a part of public record, Mr. Mayor, if you'd be so kind.
Motion accepted.
Motion to receive and file.
Okay, second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. All right, thank you, Keith. Mark?
Mark Herzog, A Road. Question, the entry sign, is that being maintained by Valley as we had asked, or is it being maintained by Browns? Is there going to be any action taken to get Valley Trust to do that?
We had mentioned it to them. I don't know whether they've done a follow-up, but every time it gets overgrown, I go down there with my weed eater to do it. And my wife Sharon does the hard work.
Well, then it better be put into the job description of mayor or vice mayor, because when I was vice mayor, I was doing it. So, we either have to approach Valley Crest or.
Or we have to get a contractor to do it.
Yeah, okay. The other thing is, I think the residents are entitled to more information on the consent agenda change of town manager. So at what time today will we know more about that?
I think a little bit, we're gonna, it's an agenda item later on there. We're
It
gonna
was
talk
on the
about it.
consent agenda.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about it.
We're gonna talk about it. Okay. The other thing that I'd like to say is Seminole Ridge, once again, the Honor Society helped us with the road cleanup. We had 65 honor student, resident, and residents cleaning up with the Chobe Boulevard. We were able to go up and down the dirt roads also and do some cleaning there. So if the letter hasn't been sent out, maybe, just a generic letter thanking them from the town would be in order.
Mark, did you catch that? We get that letter? Mark, thank you.
Okay, yes.
Along with that, Marge, is there any way this town can support the council in any other ways? Can you check in that? I don't know what kind of honor society they've got, if we can do anything for them down the road. But they've been doing this for a long time. And the other thing, if the road looks nice, I would hope that we would make contact with the county as soon as possible tomorrow to try and get them to mow the grass now, since it's been policed by the students. If that's any-
Well, Owen Miley and I work together on the Adopter Road, and I more or less let him know, when something needs to be done. Okay, but if mowing is something, I'll tell him.
No, that's for the county. The county maintains the road. In other words, now, if we
Owen
let
is-
the county know it is that.
Owen is my
Oh, Owen is,
contact.
okay, good, okay.
Okay, and the other thing is, this Thursday night is the Wasatch Groves Landowners Meeting, and we are having a special presentation by the PBSO from the Narcotics Division, and they're going to be talking about how to be aware of the problem with grow houses, how to recognize if they're happening in and around your area where you live, and any other thing related to grows.
Okay, thank you, Mark. And if you would suggest or remind the landowners at our first meeting in October, we'll have an honored guest, and it's Quasimodo, Mike Carroll's dog.
I
So
will.
number 2 in the nation for the ugliest dog competition. But he's cute. She's cute. All right, moving on to, we have no committee reports. Resolution 6A, Village.
Mr. Mayor, I'll go ahead and read the title, then we'll have a presentation by Finance, and a public hearing for you adopt the final millage. Resolution 2014-12, a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Wasatch Groves, Florida, establishing and adopting the final millage for the Town of Wasatch Groves, Florida, pursuant to the budget summary for the fiscal year 2014-2015, in accordance with Chapter 200 Florida statutes as amended, providing for severability, conflict, and an effective date.
All right, entertain a motion and a second, and then we'll give someplace to start. Did you want, Bill, did you want to make a presentation?
Why don't we do that before you pass the resolution? So,
Well, before we pass it, or before we make a resolution?
before you pass it. You
Okay.
can vote, you can, I would say.
All right, so
hold off
let's
on your
get a motion
until
and
you
a
get there.
second on the table. And, so we're gonna,
Honorable Mayor, Town Council, at the last meeting, there was a request to review the millage for possible reductions and provide some input. We have reviewed that. The primary location that I believe another Councilman Rosen indicated would be a reduction in the contingency, which in the current budget is about $81,000. For each 1/10 of a mil, you would be reducing the revenue $21,910. So if you went from 1.5 down to 1.4, you would be reducing the contingency revenue and the contingency by $21,910 for each of those 0.1 mil reductions.
21,000 per point. 21, okay.
And that's basically the end of our introduction and discussion is that option to reduce the budget in that area. That is the best area to attack as far as removing items from the budget.
Okay. All right. Someone want to make a motion? A number?
I'll make a motion for discussion.
Okay.
Second.
All right. What's the number?
For the, I'll say for the 1.2 that James brought up as the last
Makes a motion 1.2, second by Tom. Second by Ron.
Second back, I thought you were gonna make the resolution for 1.5, we were gonna discuss it.
Okay, so Ryan makes it, Jim seconds at 1.2. Discussion.
To my knowledge, we've never had a 1.5, and the reason why the 1.5 was brought up was to satisfy the village requirement, if I'm correct. And then to my knowledge, since the town's been incorporated, we've never had an issue with meeting that requirement. We haven't been penalized. So if the reason for the 1.5 is to avoid possible penalties from the state, and history has shown that we haven't been penalized. I'd like to see some other reason why we're having the millage increase.
Okay.
I'll speak to what he's talking about with the penalty.
Okay.
If we were to be penalized, the consequences are much greater than the increase of 0.3 mils from 1.2. To make up for it, we would probably have to be at 2 to 4 mils, because really this is not a portion of our budget, it's only 20% of our total budget. And so these other revenue sharings that we receive are really contingent on the state's largesse to us. And as has been pointed out, if somebody doesn't want to put something in writing, but will tell you it, and you continue to trust them, then I think that is a poor decision on your part. Because I have always found that if I ask somebody to put something in writing, and they do, you can generally trust it more so than somebody says, well, I really can't write it down, but I'll tell you it'll be okay. Because usually you come into a problem. And especially as that problem relates to the fact that it's only one individual that's ever told us this, and that this situation is tenuous, in that somebody else could take their job tomorrow and change this. Now, you'd say, oh, that doesn't happen in government. But it does when we look at what's happening with the property appraiser and the brothers right here in our own town, where they had one long-term 35-year policy that because somebody retired and not actually the person in charge of the whole policy, but just the person in charge of that department left. And now all of a sudden, there's a big different way of thinking of things, a totally different understanding of it. That understanding could cost us $600,000 or $700,000 as compared to raising taxes $60,000 over a $200 million assessed value. I think that we shouldn't play around, and we should listen to Mr. Underwood on this particular issue. Something is concerning. I know that we've gotten a pass and we've gotten somebody to say, but once again, the person who wants to say is not right there. So based on that, I think that there's a problem.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Anybody else?
Yeah, let's go back 2 years. I think this was started when we asked Mike to go to Department of Revenue, the place that would be telling some cities or towns that they have not met the requirements. And we went there with our town incorporation, basically statute that we incorporated under. They said, this is what we went forward with. We want your interpretation as to, is this, we can still use water control district in our calculation, and we were confirmed. It wasn't like we made something up. We had something that we incorporated under, and we got a ruling, if you will, from Department of Revenue, and then they said we can't put it right. It's not just out of thin air. This is the document that gave life to this town. And in that document was referenced to this, and we just asked for that to be confirmed. We went through that last year. We went down that road, and we held at 1.2. I don't see a reason to change. The reasoning we had last time still holds water. If we want to ask Mike to do some additional, follow-up to say, all right, hey, who else in the organization can I go to if you leave or if you retire, then that's fine. But we have, speaking with the department that's going to be the one that says you have not done your thing in terms of meeting your requirements, we have them speaking on their behalf. This is what we have met the requirements. So I don't see the need to do this again. We went through this 2 years ago. I don't see, a year ago, we didn't need to go through it again. We can use the 1, 2, and we're well over the 3 when we include the water control district on that one.
Okay, anybody else? Rob?
First of all, I've never been concerned about the penalty. It's never been an issue to me. I trust our legal. I believe they were thorough about it. And I don't have a problem with management worrying about it, okay? But we rely on legal to proceed as far as saving these taxpayers' money and stuff. That has never entered my mind about the penalty. I'm not worried about that. My reasons, and I expressed it in front of this council numerous times, is first of all, our FACT committee. They work very hard. They know money better than I do. They've done an outstanding job so far. They recommended that we go to 1.5. Okay, I recommended that we go to 1.5 for the simple fact that we will start seeing commercial businesses come into this town. I personally do not like the idea of commercial businesses coming into this town and not paying taxes. The residents can reap a lot of benefits from the commercial businesses who are going to get rich or make a living or prosper by them paying taxes to this town. Now, if my calculations is anywhere close, and Bill can correct me, is if we keep it at 1.5, we're talking about an increase of $65,000, approximately $730. Now, I know that I thought last year that we put $120,000 into Waste Road to cut costs to the residents for garbage pickup. And it's like I said before, as far as our residents that live here now, I'm not talking about people that own property that want to hold it for a gold mine. They got it in ag, but they're wanting to hold it till they can sell it and make a good profit off of it. But for our residents that live here that pay garbage, we can give them back more than that tax increase, all right, by deducting the cost of the garbage to them. There's numerous ways that we can legitimately cut their cost, and basically they really wouldn't be getting a tax increase. On paper, they would be paying more, but we would be giving them more back. So that it bothers me that we want to continue, and I'm one of the ones that at one time was wanting to go down to no taxes at all. But I find that hard to believe that that's wise as a town when we got all these commercial businesses that will be coming into this town and they won't be paying taxes. I don't like that. So that's where I stand on that. We need to listen to our FACT committee. We need to try it at 1.5. If everybody's dissatisfied and people are going to the poorhouse because we raised their taxes and we didn't give the money back to them, and we can bring it down next year, okay? And we can bring it down lower than 1.2 to make up the mistake that some people think we might make by increasing it this year. So no, we as a town need to keep it at 1.5, raise it to 1.5, and make it work for the residents. Thank you.
For the record, I'm not aware of any commercial properties that don't pay taxes
or that any deal we've made with any commercial property for free taxes, and the concept that somehow they're not paying taxes is just not true, so. I don't
Okay,
understand.
first of all, I didn't say they weren't paying taxes. I said they're paying the same taxes as the residents of this town, so I'd like to know who you're talking about. Okay, no, commercial property, the residents, they're not tax-free in Loxahatchee Grove. They pay the same thing we do, except the difference is they're making money off their businesses in this town, okay, and the taxpayers aren't getting anything for it, so.
Mr. Mayor, once again, I do not understand the hostility to private enterprise, the hostility to the concept of making money, to the hostility to capitalism. I didn't realize that this was some sort of a utopian operation here where no one's supposed to make any money, and nobody should come here and try to have a business. That I just don't get part of this at all. I really don't. I mean, I do get what they're talking about with the, you know, the 3 mil equivalency. The rest of it, I don't get it at all. Mike, could you answer a question? Is it legal to charge more money to commercial than a different rate to commercial than it is to residential or to ag or to other levels?
No, it's the single uniform millage rate throughout the town,
So this
all
is-
property,
And
all
this is,
taxable property.
do we have any option to change that at all?
You need to do a different rate for different categories, not for your millage rate.
Okay, so thank you, that's what I, so the reason we're doing it is because this is how we have to do it.
Yeah.
The reason we're doing this is because this is the state law. The reason we're doing this is that's how it is. And so, whereas the vice mayor may find all this objectionable, this is how it works. And that's what we're supposed to do. And like I said, I don't understand hostility to business. There are people who are not getting paid by the county their whole life, and so they have to make a different way to earn money, and I really find it offensive when people make their whole life's earnings off the government, want to sit here and rage the people who pay their bills.
At the
And I
same
think
time,
that's what's going on.
to defend Ron, he is not saying that he is looking for no taxes.
He said he,
There were-
he
there were-
said,
there were
he said he wants the,
conversations
he's against profit, he's against people making money in the town, he said that, and he said that he's against people coming here and trying to have a business in Loxahatchee Groves, he wants to make it harder on him, he wants to charge them more money. And that is what he has said tonight. I don't know if anybody else heard it, but that's what
I
he
think
heard.
both of you are supporting the 1.5 just for 2 different reasons. So,
Mr. Mayor, question. I hear sometimes there's such a thing as a special tax district, special taxing district. When does that come into play? I understand the millage rate is uniform, but when does that come into play?
Well, you mean, there may be special taxing districts that you can establish by ordinance, like development districts and whatnot, business development district, those kind of things. But the authority to tax and to assess is governed by that statute to pass on to you. So depending on which type of district, and I'm not saying you're going to develop, but depending which type of district an entity adopts, they get different types of authority under the statute to raise revenue, whether it be an assessment, whether it be a millage, those kind of things. So you know, community redevelopment agency, one type of example, a downtown, like a business and development district.
Is there a situation where you can tax the commercial and not provide them any services for that taxation?
No.
It's not like you can tax the commercial and have a Robin Hood tax where we take from the rich commercial and give it to the poor residential. Is that legal or possible at all? Because that's what the scam, it seems like they'd like to do.
In a certain district, you have to take into account, like Mike mentioned, the CRA, for example. To do a CRA, you have to have a strong life declaration, which a lot of communities don't really want to go that far and do that.
And you can legally take people's property away and give it to somebody else to start a thing that will just pay you more taxes. Is that also true?
You mean eminent domain?
Eminent domain, we could take it away and then open our own, we could make a mall and have that mall pay taxes instead and throw people out in the street. Isn't that also legal?
You can.
It's legal, isn't it? Just answer it.
Yeah, eminent domain is a legal option, but it has to serve a public purpose. I don't know if building a mall does, and then there's,
that's a different part, but
there's complications.
The point I'm trying to make is.
The New Haven case, single-family homes,
Correct.
you know, that all factors in. There's a statute that was
The whole
adopted
point
a few
is
years ago to narrow it, so.
There's no Robin Hood. There's no way to steal from the one and give it to the other.
Mr. Mayor, to continue with my question, the second part of that would be, usually, as I understood it, special taxing districts are created when there is a special cost to, say, an area that is identifiable to that, be it a commercial or something like that, and it's inappropriate to have, let's say, a large geographic area pay for increases that may be specific to a particular area. And that is a means to recover those additional costs that are not equally spread across the community or geographic area. That's an application of that. But there are such things where there's costs that you're trying to prevent having to be spread when they're really attributable to a special group or an area.
The best example is the CRA that Mark brought up. CRA sets in place a tip, and they get extra tax money back. That tax money has to be used within that area for additional cleaning, additional police services, additional infrastructure. And that's a specific case. But you can set up a special taxing district for specific items within the statute.
Okay.
And it has to benefit those properties.
All right. Thank you. And then my other point relative to what Ron was speaking to, if, without raising our millage to 1.5 or to any increase, we have a lot of money sitting in the bank that we could turn around and give money back to every resident in the community like we did a year or so back, and put it like $100 per reduction in terms of their charge for garbage. So there's ways to do that without raising taxes because we have money that we have not used, which we accumulated over a number of years at a rate that was higher than we needed.
Okay.
You could just give everybody the money back, like I said before, it's $1,000, everybody could get it, and then they could have it, and then we don't have to do all these things in everybody. Just collect the money and redistribute it, but, you know, why are we doing that? That's not really our function, to collect tax money and then give it back to the people is sort of crazy. If we're collecting tax money, we really ought to use it for a public purpose. Public purpose that relates to the town versus a district road or a county road or somebody else than us. And that's what I really think we ought to be doing with our tax money and what we do with it. So we just shuffle it off to people instead of actually using it for something for us.
Okay. I got Keith Harris and then John Ryan.
Keith Harris, 2580 C Road. I support 1.2 millage. Only way I would support an increase in millage is to increase services to the town. If you get additional services, you should be willing to pay for it. If it was to raise 1.5, I think it should be stipulated for a particular purpose, such as the procurement of a permanent town hall. We're in the process of negotiating for a possible town hall in the Chamber Building. You've got some $65,000 of increased millage, that will make a grand payment towards that process. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Keith. John Ryan.
John Ryan, 3508 A Road. The way I heard Councilman Gerald was that both commercial properties and residents would pay 1.5 mils. I think the difference that I understood Ron was speaking to was that commercial property is higher value and there's no homestead exemption. And so by definition, if both parties were paying 1.5 mils, slightly, proportionately, given the greater property value and no homestead exemption, commercial properties would pay more. And that's not changing the millage rate, and it's not giving special discounts to commercial property. And I did think that it was kind of creative to look at supporting the recommendation of our town management to be sure that we comply with the minimum millage, even though I've wondered whether Mike has looked at the possibility of his actually sending an email and copying Gary Nicolaitis to the DOR person he talked to, just confirming their conversation, or whether that is just an absolute no-no. But I do think that if we did go with the 1.5 mils, there are ways to, as Keith Harris was bringing out, improve services to the town residents, or use that as a way to improve our ability to look at town hall alternatives.
Thank you, John. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Call for a vote. All in favor? What's that?
What's the?
The motion is for 1.2. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Opposed? Okay, and I myself am opposed. So it passes at a 1.2.
You want a roll call on that? Mike, you want a roll call?
Yeah, let's do a roll call on the motion.
Councilman Rocket,
Yes.
Councilman Liang,
Yes.
Mayor Browning,
No.
Vice Mayor Gerald,
Yes.
Councilman Goldstein.
All right, we have a millage.
What was the motion?
1.2 is the motion.
1.2. 1.2.
Before we move on, let's go ahead and fill in the blanks.
Okay. All right, fill in the blank. What's that?
His confusion was over Councilman Gerald's vote.
Yes, you are confused.
He was recommending 1.5, voted to 1.2.
That's because the people basically didn't have a problem with the 1.2,
Okay,
okay?
just trying to
Now,
understand.
I expressed how I felt about it in the council.
They're under 65,000.
The problem I have, and I should have spoken, is I'm a little bit like Tom, is I really don't trust the state. One of the reasons that I supported the college was that I felt we would still be getting the assessment for the water control board for the drainage. That was based on the fact that the elementary school had always paid that assessment. After the fact, all of a sudden, we found out, oh wait, somebody on the state level realized that they didn't have to pay an assessment to anybody. Therefore, we not only lost that would have been coming from the college, we also lost that for the school. So I do have a fear that, at some point, somebody up there says, oh, wait, we have overpaid or we didn't do this. So let's hope and pray that nobody decides to try to recoup $800,000 for the state on our backs. So anyway, we have 1.2. You doing a calculation?
Yeah, and then we'll ask you to adopt the resolution with the numbers in it.
Okay.
What you're adopting for the town of Los Angeles for fiscal year beginning October 1, 2014, the millage rate of 1.2 mils, which is 9.6% greater than the rollback rate of 1.0954. It's being adopted to provide for the health, safety, and welfare of its citizens.
Okay. All right, we're moving to,
We have to do that.
Pass the resolution with the numbers in it.
all right,
Motion to adopt the resolution with those numbers.
okay, so we want to make that motion?
I'll make the motion that we adopt the rollback rate, since we're going to be tax saving and all that good stuff. Why don't we go with the lower number?
Well, no, I think we've already
That
got,
way we get the same amount we got last year. That's exactly what that means. Nobody gets their taxes raised. Anyone second that?
We've already.
Because you're raising taxes.
we've already adopted 1.2.
Reconsider.
All right, someone want to make a, yeah, we're going to make a motion to accept the 1.2
We need to make a motion to adopt the resolution
that we
with
just
figures
passed.
correspond with your approval of 1.2 mil tax rate.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Like you said, we should do it.
Okay, Jim makes a motion, second by Ryan. Further discussion, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Roll call.
Councilman Liang,
Yes.
Mayor Browning,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Darrell,
Yes.
Councilman Goldzenich,
No.
Councilman Rocket.
Yes.
All right, now we're moving to item 6B.
Honorable Mayor, Town Council, we tried to, and we think we have incorporated all the changes, and with what the council just approved, we would recommend the general fund budget, the taxes being reduced to $2,217,931, which would bring the general fund total revenue to $2,095,897. I will tell you that sounds like a large number, but the biggest piece of that number is the transfer back into the general fund from the CIP of $1 million. So theoretically, you're going to be at $1,095,095, even though we had to advertise $2 million. But $1 million is just transferred back in. On the expenditure side, I would recommend, if council so chooses, to remove the $65,730 from other general governmental services from contingency, which is currently $81,254. And we would subtract the 60. Leaving 15,524 contingency.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 2014-13 with the changes as outlined, the reduction in revenue and the reduction in contingency.
Okay, we have a motion. Second by Ryan. Further discussion?
It's two things, so we get title and it's a public hearing. Okay. A resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Lakes Groves, Florida, adopting the final budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2014, and September 30, 2015, adopting fiscal policies and providing for severability, conflicts, and an effective date.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Anybody?
Roll call. Roll call
Anybody
vote.
from the public?
I don't have any comment cards by the
I
public.
want to make sure on the record that
Yes. Okay.
uh,
No public comment cards. Roll call vote.
Mayor Browning,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Darrell,
Yes.
Councilman Goldzenich,
yes.
Councilman Rocket,
Yes.
Councilman Liang,
Yes. Okay, moving to the administrative update.
Thank you, Your Honor. A number of items tonight, but I'll try to be real brief. First of all, as you are aware, we were looking at having the PUDs for the Commons, Lux Commons and Lux Center tonight. However, I'll let you know that Mr. Cirillo and Mr. Fleischman, Mr. Whitney, and myself met with the developers and the college on September 16th. Still trying to work out loose ends associated with both the Ocean roadways and the public roadway part adjacent to those. We're now shooting for October 21st to try to have this on, but I mean, there's still some issues to work out, so I'm just kind of giving you a rough idea as to when that may be. That's the next projected date. I did send an email on Friday to George Webb, asking him for an update relative to our request on Okeechobee Boulevard. I asked Mr. Webb if he could try to get it to me today so I could give that report to you tonight, and I haven't received it yet, so I'll continue to push for that. The Sixth Court Trail, what we've been doing with that. On August 18th, Mr. Yowie, Mr. Shiola, and I went and took a look at the site, looked at the trail. On August 25th, we took Mr. Wojtepny and Mr. Shiola and myself went out there and took a look at it. Then Mr. Shiola and Mr. Yowie got together and put together a rough scope of work that I return transmitted to Mr. Wartech on September 8th. I'm pleased to tell you today we received a design and a graphic from him that we can now look at, and I'll get with Mr. Yogi, Mr. Shiola, and we'll see about moving forward. It's probably going to require us going ahead and getting some quotes to do the rest of the work. So we are moving with that. Also, on September 12th, Mr. Ortepny and I sent a joint letter to the DEP. This relates to the System 4 for the municipal separate storm sewer system, which we talked about in PDES. As you remember, DEP was asking us and trying to get us to go ahead and require that of us. And we made the arguments that we talked about, that we're not an urbanized area, we don't really have a population. So we have that to them, and hopefully, we're going to hear good news relative to that. But that is the attempt to try to get the waiver for another year or for the foreseeable future. Today was a good day because we did get information in relative to the traffic light. Simmons and White did send us their design proposal for a spraying pole. Got that this afternoon, looked at it real briefly, superficially, need to take a look at it in more depth. Put copies for all of you in the boxes. Roughly, it looks like it's coming in at around 5,700. There are a couple of items that have to be reviewed. So we'll see where that goes, but right now, that's a little bit higher than the original proposal, but that was just a generalized, that was around 51,000. So it's a little bit higher, but that's just for a spring. We are also, I'm having Mr. Ortetti look at possible solutions. As you know, we went through, we had meetings with FEMA, both at the Boynton Beach Library, the general meeting, and then the next night at the Vista Center. And the mayor was there, and we're looking at various options. There may be some things we can do, a secret we want now, or we're looking at that model again. We also attended another meeting with the League of Cities. So at some point, it would probably be a good idea to have Mr. Ortetti back here and asking him to give you some proposals that town council may elect to review and look at as it relates to trying to, address this issue of floodplain, the flood maps, and all the attendant issues that come along with that if that falls on us. And finally, one last item, if you would indulge me, Mayor. Tonight will be my final meeting as your town manager based upon your earlier actions. Mr. Underwood will be taking this chair. I'd like the town council to know that in my judgment, every past action that I have taken was in the best interest of the common good for the town of Waxahachie Grove. I realize that individual council members may have felt it was not in their best interest, but that is the nature of this business. In any event, I want to thank the mayor and the town council for the opportunity to serve all of you and the good citizens of Waxahachie Groves. And I wish the town council and the town the best in your future endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. And we appreciate your effort.
Yes,
I
we do.
If I could, Mark, one question.
Yes.
Any progress on getting any commitment from the county for paying for the traffic light on Okeechobee?
No, we have not. Are you talking about the equestrian or the actual market?
No, I'm talking about the traffic light.
No, I have not broached that issue with them at any point in time.
Mr. Mayor, do you think that perhaps at some point someone should ask the county about this? Because that was the selling point, and really to sit here and say that we expect to get reimbursement and not get it is not, it's just wrong.
I will follow.
And the other thing is, Mr. Harris made me aware of this petition. He's got 300 people. He hasn't had anybody say, no, I need that. People, they don't want it. We need to look at this. It needs to be vetted. You have to have something other than a councilman thinks it's a great idea as your reason, and we're going to get reimbursed. Well, and we're going to get reimbursed. I'm still looking for that, and I'm not seeing it. We hear what Mark has to say, and you got a petition here saying, no. I don't think that's right. I don't think we ought to continue this. I don't think we ought to be sitting here advancing any more funds until we really think it through And to be honest with you, I really think we have to come to the realization that we have to spend money on our roads. Not the county's road or the state's road or buy a bomb for Syria. We need to sit here and spend the money in Waxahachie roads. And we need to stop thinking that every road project's on a district road. The district needs to turn those roads over to us. We've got these developers, we've got 4 of our people going to meetings, and you can see the numbers clicking, click, 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 like in a taxi while they're doing that. And yet, we're talking about paving the district's road, and we've got zip, once again, in writing, zip in anything where anyone said, if you do this, then you can have that road. We don't have anything like that. None of this exists. But you look and go through our capital improvements budget, and it's all to do things for other folks. I don't think that's right. And if we can't have control of these things, well, then we need to ask the county to take care of that road. Or we might as well pay to mow it too. Why should we care about it? We should mow it if we're gonna do a traffic light on the dang thing. We're gonna put a stripe down the middle of it too. But then it would be our road. And that's what I said, we should get our road for us. And we need to either make those decisions and move forward like that, or we need to say, well, then we just won't pay for those things. And we won't have the developers pay for district roads. We'll let the district work that out with the developers. The developer needs to come to them and get some sort of sign off. Well, let them say, pay the road for us. But we need to watch that, we need to stop that. And I think that this traffic light really needs to come to at least a stop for a few minutes here and rethink it. Because there's a lot of people that don't think that that's appropriate. I'm one of them, didn't sign it, but I'm one of them. And I think that we really need to change what we've got going on.
All right, moving on, you didn't put your name on it.
Oh, sorry.
All right, you want to speak to this item?
Could I?
Yeah, and then come on up and put your name on it.
Want to do that now?
Yes, please.
We got it. Joe Siciliano, 1530 G Road, and now this is going to sound quite redundant after Tom's eloquent speech. But I'm thinking as a resident with only $2 million in surplus, I think the traffic light seems a bit of a foolish expenditure on a road that doesn't even belong to us. Perhaps the council could wait on installing any type of traffic control until after we determine whether we can ever gain control of Okeechobee Road, or we're going to always be at the mercy of the district or the county and its love affair with developers. That's really all I have to say. I think there's, again, other things we should do, like plant trees, make it a beautiful road instead of traffic light road.
Just real quick though, the light was so that people that live on Okeechobee can get out of the dirt roads
We don't
on
want it.
Okeechobee. Well, I don't know whether you have to do that, and I voted against it at this time, but at some point, the traffic will be so heavy, you know, that to get out of any of our letter roads onto or across Okeechobee
Then
without a
who-
break in the traffic will be hard.
But isn't that a conversation you should be having with the county?
Yes, and that's.
I mean, I'm just telling you that we don't want a traffic
Well,
light. I don't know how to fix it.
No,
but-
understand, the county doesn't want a light either. They really want it to keep going 60 mile an hour through Waxahachie Groves, and they really don't care whether we can get out of driveways or across the road. That's really how the county looks at it, because they want it to flow
Then
as
what
much
happens-
trips as possible. That's all they want.
Then what happened to the part where we were having a discussion with the county, whether we could gain control of the Okeechobee, which bifurcates our town? What happened to that? Did that ball get dropped? Where was
Well,
that?
no,
They haven't responded,
They haven't responded,
Okay.
but my
I mean, I think
thought
like,
is twofold. Number one, we could never afford it. And we're talking
how do you know? I mean,
1.2 mils, and if we were talking 5 mils maybe. And number two, I mean, I would love to, but the other thing is, the county is not gonna give up that right away, because they're just getting ready to approve Minto, and they're gonna need 3 6-lane roads, of which one of them is Okeechobee.
but perhaps in improving Minto, we have a little bit of leverage
And that
as a
single
town.
traffic light isn't gonna be any
Oh, so you,
Anybody, so
so
why
I
are we
agree,
buying it?
I
Why are
agree,
we
Tom,
buying it?
I agree, Tom.
I mean, right, would the county put it in?
What's that? They should, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, moving to, old business, and we're talking about the update on the, county fish commercial building.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Burns is here tonight, and he does have a presentation. He wants to present some options to you. I would like to report, though, pursuant to council direction, we did take this matter to the FAAC committee last evening. They had a very good 2-hour discussion. I'm not going to get into too many of the particulars because I know Chair Gina Stanek is here. I think she's going to provide her comments after Mr. Burns provides the options, and is that correct, Regina?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And so, basically, I would like to have Mr. Burns come up if possible. Sure. Let him go over some of the options since we last discussed this, and then you can hear from FAC and get a flavor as to what's occurred.
Okay. Okay, going up.
It's all yours. I'm going to bring up this, he has a PowerPoint.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Councilman. Actually, it's not a PowerPoint. If you just leave that first sheet up there, it'd be great. So just a little bit of,
Do it for the record, name and address.
yes, apologize, Wayne Burns, and the CEO of the Central Palm Beach County Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for having me here this evening. What's up on the screen now is simply a response to the council's direction to get some numbers on lease with option to buy. So in response to that, I sent an email to Mr. Cudney with lease to option to buy as well as a lease option. And what I was basing that on is our original discussion about the Anderson car appraisal that we got this year in 2014 for $630,000. So the lease with option to buy numbers that we looked at were based on that buy price. And the way we structured it was a monthly rental amount of $5,500 a month with an option at $30,000 that would go towards the purchase price. And in line with your charter, a strategy that would allow the city to have up to your 36-month parameter before having to make a decision to buy or not buy a building. I understand that you can't carry debt. Lease with option to buy is not a debt instrument, and so you have, when I heard from council last time I was here, up to that 36-month period to either make the acquisition or decide maybe to continue to lease. So that's the way we structured it. I did some homework since I was here last. Some of the things that we wanted to look at was, one, what are the rental rates in the area? Interestingly, if anybody can do this now, you can put LoopNet in your iPhone or your smartphone. If you look at LoopNet, there's actually only 2 rental properties for any kind of office space currently available. And there aren't any parcels, at least not that are properly zoned, that are currently available. Those 2 rental properties are not built out. They're basically a shell. One is literally on the adjacent corner from where the chamber building is now. It's a brand new facility. Be built to suit at a significant cost. The empty shell price is $18.50 a foot as advertised on LoopNet. So you're looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of about $70,000+ a year if you were to rent a light space. We also saw there's another building in the area.
How much was that a year?
$70,000 a year. The exact amount was $73,075 a year, or $6,089 a month. That's not including any cost of build out. So where the chamber building already has computer and telephone in all of the offices, it's built out. You can customize the town hall, this area where you would have your council meetings, but you have everything else that's already built in the space. The other building that we looked at, which is also in the Groves, is even a greater cost at $20 to $21 a square foot. Again, not built out. And that would be $79,000 a year, $6,583 a month. That's before you spend your first dollar on any kind of improvement. So at the very least, I know part of the decision is whether or not you would need to move at all or want to move at all. But we wanted to make sure that the numbers we were beginning with were at least market competitive. So if you truly wanted to make a move and felt like you needed to make a move, we wanted to make sure we were in line with the numbers. The other thing we looked at is purchase prices. So Anderson Carr, again, I mentioned, they did an appraisal in 2014, $630,000. As anybody that's familiar with the real estate market, Anderson Carr is one of probably the two largest, most respected appraisal companies in Palm Beach County for commercial real estate, or at least in this area for commercial real estate. They, of course, did comparables to look at what our building cost would be. And interestingly, I asked them why the comparables they chose ran from West Palm Beach to Palm Springs to Delray. And the answer was, there's just not that many buildings that are like the Chamber building. You just don't have those kind of freestanding buildings that are readily available in the market. And they went back to the earliest date was February of 2012, looking at sales. So between February of 2012 and now, they were able to come up with 5 comparables that expanded from Delray Beach to Waxahachie Groves. In those comparables, they range from $207 a foot, and that was in March of 2012. The real estate market has probably improved since then. They did find one as low as $142 a square foot. So most of them were 164, 177, 207. And interestingly, even the ones that were, the one at 207 had a 20% deficit in terms of location, meaning the Chamber building here in Waxahachie Groves is a 20% more preferable location than this building that sold at $207 per square foot. So we wanted to make sure that the buy price, based on the appraisal, and the rental price, based on current market today, were in line with the numbers. So if your decision was that you felt that your town, your townspeople, the citizens deserve to have a space where they can meet, where community groups can meet, where the town can feature Waxahachie Groves on that marquee corner for home buyers, businesses, and others. We wanted to make sure that the numbers were in line. So if I would ask actually the Excel spreadsheet, if we can put that up, it's the other document that's on that drive, please. So what I wanted to also do is do a direct comparison, a single sheet direct comparison, so that we could see what those amounts look like. So on the left, and I have, I can make certainly extra copies, or I will leave this here, and I can certainly provide electronic copies. But basically what you see up there, if we can start on the left side of that screen. I'll start with what you currently have. My understanding is you're roughly paying about $2,000 a month. That includes storage and other expenses that are associated with your current rental. That's what I heard when we were at the FAC meeting. So looking at that, what I did was I tried to calculate based on the discussion we had had, a per year, a 3-year price, and then a 30-year price. And I got to imagine Waxahachie Groves, the government, this town will be here way beyond 30 years. But I was looking at it in terms of at least a 30-year mortgage. I also took that same dollar amount and I tried to create an apples and apples comparison. I think that I was able to do that. You have roughly a little under 1,000 square feet, 980, 970, 940. I got a few different numbers. So I used the 980. Based on the 980, that means for a comparable rental to what you have today, you're roughly looking at 4 times your current rental cost, $8,000 a month, which would be $96,000 a year, $288,000 over 3 years, and $2,888,000 over 30 years, based on your current cost per square foot in your rental environment today. At the bottom left corner, those comments, those notes, I basically took those from the comments that came from the citizens who spoke to this item previously, and also came from the dais. There were comments about security, comments about liability, if someone were to get injured or some of the crime issues or affect citizens coming to the town, and talking about weather, hurricanes, storms, etc. Then we looked at the numbers based on your lease with option to buy, which was what you requested. And if you take those same numbers in lease with option to buy, the actual 30-year holding price after all of the more notable expenses, including closing costs, including putting $30,000 into doing modifications in a build out if you wanted to modify the building in some way, or maybe put some more paved parking. Total 30-year cost, $1,470,000. And that's assuming that the rental that you currently have will never go up in price or would withstand a hurricane, and you wouldn't have to find a new location. So, based on an apples-to-apples square footage comparison, it's an $8,000 per month current price if you were to have a similar square foot based on what you're paying per square foot today, versus $5,500 in a lease with option to buy. Last night we put a number forward that we hadn't put before. We suggested to the FAC that we'd be willing to entertain a cash buy for $480,000. Now, I have a 2014 appraisal from Anderson & Carr. It's over, I'd say, about here, it's over about 70 pages. Pretty detailed, depth of analysis. And we're talking about a $480,000 buy price. We recognize that if you were to be interested in that and agree to that the stipulation is clear. We would need to go to the county. We would go to the county with the deal in hand and tell them that the only way this moves forward is if they agree to deed the land. Another option, I know this would be less preferable, maybe you would desire it or not, would be maybe a 99-year lease with a dollar buyout. But certainly, we would go with the stipulation that you're not going to make a move unless the county does so. On the other hand, we would hope that we would have an agreement that says if the county decides to do that, then the deal holds, and whatever costs you put into appraisal, whatever costs you put into having structural engineers look at the building, I heard that was one of the options, so I'm not sure why it's a 2010 structure built on county land to county code. But certainly if you wanted to incur that expense, you could be looking at between your 1 or 2 appraisals, that type of inspection, whatever other due diligence you wanted to do, somewhere between the neighborhood of $8,000 to $10,000 of expense. And we certainly would understand that. We would just hope, knowing that the county itself can take a while to make a decision, that we would go into some opportunity with a deal certain if you chose to, and then we would ask the county to base their decision on not hypothetical, but on a deal certain if they were to go ahead and do what we were asking. So on that right-hand column, if you take the same numbers and you apply them in terms of the build-out, in terms of what the current property maintenance costs, in terms of what the current utilities cost, and you may use more or less utilities, you may have your own property maintenance crew, and then you add that up, including the buy price, and that includes the closing costs, $1,345,000 total for that 30-year holding cost. So, again, these are the assumptions are that no prices will go up. Your rent where you currently are would never go up. The value of this building wouldn't increase at all in 30 years. So we're assuming that everything stays flat, which obviously is not the case. The value is going to go up considerably in 30 years. Certainly rents will go up over a 30-year period. So that's what the numbers look like. And the difference between the notes that were on the left that I heard coming from the dais and from the citizens, it's an excellent facility versus what some might consider a little more challenged environment. And it provides immediate paved parking and an opportunity for your citizens in bad weather to be able to congregate in the lobby area as well as in the main area. We also did some measurements. The measurements here, I've got a couple of numbers. 912 square feet of usable space was one number. I know it's probably a little over 1,000 if you take it up to the walls behind you. Ours was 970 square feet of usable space. And one suggestion at the FAC meeting was the drywall where the storage closet is to be removed and that would put you well over 1,000 square feet of usable space. And if you decided to do any modifications to that room to move it out further onto the porch, then you would far exceed by 20 to 30% the current space that you have. So, safe environment on a daily basis for your citizens, an environment that's appropriate to this town and where you're trying to go, and what image you want to show the world in terms of businesses, in terms of people who might want to buy homes here, people who want to come and enjoy your equestrian community. So, all that being said, safer, more appropriate to your environment, a much lower holding cost overall. I recognize that you're only paying $2,000 a month, but the decision about that is whether or not that's permanent. Whether or not you're going to get another opportunity like this is a question, considering that looking through almost the entire county, it was impossible to find a similar price building. Not then, not now. And there are no properties like this pulling up on LoopNet. Anybody sitting here can check those numbers. So I realize it's a lot. I will remind you that we offered to hold paper. And again, listening to your counsel, as long as that paper wasn't held to exceed 36 months, we could legitimately hold paper. Of course, it's at the goodwill of the city. Leaving the city would of course pay if we were holding that debt. So we can certainly structure an opportunity. My request is, whatever you decide, if you have any seriousness about pursuing this and are not wanting us to take this opportunity public, then let us go away with a confirmed agreement that has stipulations. The county is one of those stipulations. And we will go to the county and say we have a deal in hand. And if they agree to the stipulations put forth by this council, then that deal will move forward.
Okay. Questions for Wade?
Wayne, what is the payoff right now? Y'all's payoff?
Payoff right now is just under $300,000.
You're willing to take $480,000, all right? Now, how would you, in other words, according to our charter, we have 36 months that we can pay it off without violating the charter or changing the charter. So, I'm looking at how much, if we manage to come up with a deal, how much would you have to have down as far as the down payment? Or would you have to have any as a down payment?
So there's at least two ways we could structure it, probably more, and we'd be open to discussion if there was some general agreement on buyer price. One is if you wanted the transfer of the property, building, not just the property from the county immediately, then we would want to at the very least pay off the mortgage owed so that the building is owned free and clear. And then we would be willing to basically become the mortgage owner for the rest of the paper for the period. The other way to structure it is we can space those payments out over 3 years to soften the blow to the citizens and to the taxes, and soften the blow to your general fund or your budget. And then the deed would transfer at the time at which we'd come to final closing, the mortgage is paid, and the town would basically take over ownership of the property. So as long as we are able to maintain a good standing with the lender, we would structure the deal so it's most appropriate for the taxpayers to meet what the city's Wasatch Grove is trying to accomplish.
So basically, if we went over a 3-year period, then you wouldn't have to have anything down.
We would at least ask for some seed money so that we can ourselves move. We have a 5-year strategic plan that is completely different than the past. We've eliminated all but 1 or 2 of our events. We had 17 parades and festivals before I became CEO. Now we're going to do the Wellington Western Community Parade and maybe one other event. So our business model right now is focused on small business. We would need some seed money to execute our strategic plan to serve the small business community.
All right, that seed money, can you round about figure 50,000, 100,000, some kind of number?
Ideally, We would hope that at least 100 or 150,000 would come through seed money. Part of the reason for that is not just for us to be able to execute on strategy. We believe that if there was evenness in the payment plan for Waxahachie roads, it would also help from a budgetary perspective. Now, you know your budget and you know what you can manage, but we think that not having a very large balloon at the end would mitigate any potential negative circumstances on either party.
Okay, anybody else? Questions?
Yeah, I've got a comment too.
Okay.
We're paying under $2,000 a month more, about $2,000 a month.
Roughly, yeah, it fluctuates between 1,900 to 2,000.
Plus, didn't you say we had additional storage on top of that?
Yeah. But we pay $149 a month for storage unit.
Oh, okay.
So if I paid about $2,000, let's put it this way. If I was coming in Waxahachie Roads and I wanted to buy a home, and the person who's selling the home said, you know, you can lease this at about $2,000 a month, and I'll rent you a lease for 30 years. So I'm just doing some $2,000 a month in 30 years. I'm paying $720,000 in having my home, although I'm leasing it. And then, if I want to pay $480,000 or have a mortgage for $480,000 to buy it, all I'd have to pay is $1,300 a month of that. It seems to me we're incurring $1,900 a month, $2,000 a month, more than $2,000 a month, whatever it might be. That number's not going to be going down. I expect it to go up, but let's start there. It makes no sense for me to rent space with the drawbacks that we have, when we could buy a building and move our offices. Not to mention have some rental out of space and other income that would help to offset insurance costs, or even if we want to do some renovation, although I don't know if there's, the assumption I would make in entertaining a purchase of a building where we will reside, and I think one of the points made that I think the community deserves something that you can be proud of rather than be afraid to come in and visit the staff. If you're paying $2,000 a month now, or if you're paying whatever that number is, plus approximately $2,000 a month now, why would you not move into a building that effectively you can pay $1,300 a month if you look at it over 30 years and 12 months per year? Why wouldn't you take that opportunity and say, I'm going to cut my costs? I just don't imagine, I just can't see. We'd be saving about $2,000 a month, but less than probably $24,000 a year, we could buy a building. And at the end of about 22 years, you'd be awash. And that assumes no increase in rent. So to me, as a financial-based person for many years, this is a no-brainer. I'm glad that we've got a lease option proposal because it stinks. To me, because we could buy this building, pay less in terms of office costs, and you provide, having somebody else maintain the property, the signage, but you have a nice sign that says, this is Waxahachie Groves. You know, come on in and ask us some questions. I would recommend to the council that we consider, and obviously with the proposal going to the county saying we would consider buying this building outright and make an offer, come to an agreement at the purchase amount, $480 or less. But I would do that proposal based on what we're seeing, based on information about facilities available, other rental costs. To me, it makes no sense but to buy this building. I would not go into a rental situation to rent a building where I could pay $600-something a month less. Instead of paying $2,000, pay $1,300, and I've got ownership. It just does not make sense. It's not like we don't have an office. It's not like we're not spending money every month now for a facility that to me is subpar. We have to have an office. We have to have a facility. Why not pay the same money every month to have a nicer office and have extra, have money left over? It just makes no sense to not to move forward on purchase option based on this particular opportunity. If somebody has $1 million building, $1.2 million building, I would not have the same opinion. We're already spending monthly equates to what this building would cost us to purchase.
Mr. Mayor. We have to remember that we have ongoing income on education. We have essentially $25,000 a year that we spend currently out of current funds. Or we could take $500,000 and buy this building and all the problems that may exist in it. And for a 30-year-old building, a 40-year-old building, all those issues versus the flexibility that we have now with the ability to move or the ability to build another facility, perhaps here, perhaps elsewhere. Other properties that have been or will be dedicated to the town in the future by other developers or by other folks. If there were to be, even though I don't support it, if there were to be a offer to for this building in cash, I think that Jim is on the right point, but less than 480 is certainly the number I would be suggesting. And certainly the concept of us owning the property outright 100%. It's the only reason we should be buying other people. Once again, here we go, spending our money on other people's property. So I don't think that's really appropriate. But if you think, I could take $500,000 and I could take Collecting Canal Road and charge people $100 each and have all the money to do it and do it right and do it nice. Or I could buy this building and anybody who came in there, I could say, you could have had a road, but we gave you this instead. So I would rather buy you a road if I give them a chance. So I'm not going to vote for this, but I would suggest that if you are going to do it, get the land and get it cheap. But I wouldn't think that taking $500,000, which is a pretty good chunk of our capital improvements, and spending on a building is going to look like anything other than it is, government buying itself a nice house to stay in, and government getting bigger and bigger. Perception is what it is, and that's how I perceive it. So that's how I decide.
Ron?
My comments are, basically, we wouldn't be taking $500,000, we'd be taking under $300,000 to pay off the existing loan. Okay? Some of the things I look at is, we have people in the audience, we have people on this council that frown on paying the water control district or setting aside $150,000 a year for the water control district. And the reason I've always supported it, basically, it has kept them from raising assessments. All right? But if it means that we can have a town center, a town hall that the residents can come to, and the other thing I think about that, then I would say, then we don't worry about the water control district. The money that we've been setting aside, $150,000, we concentrate on paying the town center if we purchase it off within 36 months. I don't think we need to pay it off. I think we need to stretch it out. Work with the chamber, give them what they need to put a little into wherever they're going to move to. I believe that's fair. So there's ways that we can make this work, but at the same time, and people may not agree with me, but I feel like I know a lot of residents, they'll call me up, they'll come up to the water control district, and they'll be sent from the water control district over to the town office. They'll come to the town office and find out they were supposed to go to the water control district. Now, I believe that a couple of people have already said they didn't want to rent the offices out because of the governmental type thing. Now, I do believe that we could pull the water control district staff into that, and I've already looked at the space. There's offices that they can move from their office to there. You've got two entities in the same place where it's more beneficial for the residents. They come up there, if they do business with the water control district, have to talk to the town office. They've got everybody in one location. That town center, it's got a kitchen, it's got bathrooms, the facilities are nice, okay? It could be a benefit to the residents. We rent buildings for the landowners association. We rent places for our staff meetings, back committee, P&Z meetings and stuff like that. You know, I just think it would be beneficial, and I think when it was appraised at $630,000 and we can get it for under $500,000, I think it's an opportunity that we need to think about. I believe they will find somebody that will take that building for whatever, to save rent money or whatever. So that's where I'm coming from. In other words, we could come up with the funds without putting ourselves in a bind.
Okay, anybody else? Right?
I'm waiting here from the back committee.
Okay. Sounds good. Quick question. The $630,000 appraisal, what did they figure on the value of the land?
They didn't separate out the value of the land.
Okay, so they included the value of the land that the chamber doesn't own. In other words, in that 630.
Correct. They made an assumption that we would go to the county and ask them to deed the land, and I just want to reiterate, certainly agree with Councilman Goldston and I'm sure the entire council, that by no means would we suggest buying the building without agreement from the county. All we're suggesting, we've already did the back work on it, so we're pretty confident about this, is we need to take a deal to the county, not hypothetical.
And I understand, you know, where you're coming from. I'm just saying that I want apples to apples, not apples to oranges.
Right.
You know, they gave you an appraised value based on the fact that the chamber owned the land. And therefore, that $630,000 is an increased and inflated amount because it's more than just a building. That's what I'm saying.
Well, the assumption was a straight deed, not necessarily attributing value to the land. And if you look at their comparables, with ours being $121 a square, and everything that came back with 170, 190, 207, I would suggest that even with that being said, they weren't adding dollars to the land. They were simply making an assumption, as we all know, if you're going to buy the building, the land has to be.
No, and don't get me wrong, and I'm not saying I'm against the deal or anything else. I'm just saying that I don't want to look at it and say, well, it was $930,000 because you really couldn't sell it for $630,000 because the county, knowing the county is not going to give you the land if it's for any deal other than like another governmental entity. And, you know, so it's all I'm saying. So, I mean, you know, the 930, it sounds great. It's a nice building. I'm just saying that you couldn't sell it for 930 or 630, you know, without the land. And
Sure.
I think we're the only person in Palm Beach County that has a chance of getting the land because that was always part of our town and our water control board.
I agree, Mr. Mayor. We felt the same way, which is why we thought that this was a win for the town, for the townspeople, and for us. And before I go, if I can provide one compliment, if I may, I'd like to compliment the FAC, the chair, and everybody who sits on the FAC. They, as Mr. Cunningham pointed out, it was a 2-hour discussion, very detailed, and I appreciate your due diligence. Also wanted to share, if I may, there's a couple of rumors out there, quickly, if I may. One is regarding the current lease with the county. We agree that maybe we can sell the building, the property, but there's certainly a number of nonprofits who would like to lease that space, and we believe that the county will be willing to take the deal. The language in here is we can't lease it, sell it, or have any easement on it, and it can only be granted by or withheld by the county at their discretion. So there's no prohibition in our lease agreement that says we can't come back with a deal for a private sector organization, including a nonprofit, which, by the way, a number of nonprofits do rent space. So I didn't factor that in, but there's oftentimes $1,000 to $1,500 a month in revenue from rented space that will be at the town's discretion. So certainly there's an opportunity there. And lastly, I'd like to say, I've heard a lot of rumor about hidden numbers, hidden information, hidden costs. I'll submit to you, councilmen and the public, the building was built in 2010. It was built on county property. The county was all over this thing. I mean, their lawyers spent months on this lease agreement. They did all the appropriate permits and inspections. The building's essentially brand new. So in terms of the whole hidden cost idea and hidden issues, I've heard that a lot around town. It is what it is. You're gonna get it appraised, you're gonna get it inspected. It's pretty straight up. There's water, electric, phone, same stuff you guys are accustomed to. But I do thank the FAC and I thank this council very much, Mr. Mayor and Councilman.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Virginia?
Yes, we're waiting on Virginia. I do think that some people know that we have money and just would like to get into our pockets. You know, I really think if there's going to be an offer made, it needs to be cheaper. You know, we don't need to pay, especially when you start talking about take the land out of the 630. The 480 is not that great a number. You know, and there's.
Okay, Virginia?
Virginia Standish, Chairman of the Financial Advisory Audit Committee. The FAAC held a special meeting at the request of the Town Council. The FAAC was extremely disappointed that no contractual or financial information was provided in the agenda for the FAAC to work with. The spreadsheet you see tonight is the first time we're seeing it. It was not available last night, but it's miraculously here tonight. Amazing. It should be noted that what appears to be a proposal was emailed to the town manager and also included in a PowerPoint presentation. At a minimum, this should have been included along with the Chamber's contract with the county for the public to review. Again, gentlemen, I remind you, my position is government transparency, and any and all information in writing needs to be presented to committees and the public, and this was not done. So I feel that issue was not failed. The FAC it also noted that the Chamber is one of only many site options coming to this community. We have this building, we have State College being built, which will have quite a bit of space. We have some development going on B Road that may have space available. So there is space coming. While there may not be space now, there is space coming. Additionally, your rent is now $900 plus 100 and change. It will be going up to $1,450 plus 100 and change for the lease space. So yes, rents are increasing. I want to be very clear. The FAC is not recommending purchase of this building. It is simply recommending guidelines to follow in the event that this building is considered for purchase as a town hall. So, based on the limited information provided, okay, the building would require some internal structural changes. Very easy to do. We have plenty of construction people in town that can help us with that, evaluate that. Okay. Town management would need to provide a cost-benefit analysis, which I believe is what you're already evaluating and asking for. A lease should not be considered. That is one decision we easily reached last night. The price of $480,000 was suggested last night after much discussion with Mr. Burns, and we feel yes, $480,000 or less, with an outright structure of meeting the 3-year guideline. We pay $150,000 to the water district, $160,000 a year at $480,000 or less could accomplish an outright purchase. Again, only, we're not recommending it. We're just giving you guidelines. Town council will need to obtain 2 independent appraisals that can be done for under $1,000 each. And the town council would need to authorize the town's engineers to inspect the facility and provide feedback as to the building meeting applicable building codes. And the members of the committee strongly felt that any contract to acquire the facility should include a clause that states purchase is subject to Palm Beach County granting at least 1.75 acres of property to the town. Again, this is not a recommendation to purchase. Insufficient data was provided to be able to provide you with information. These are simply guidelines to follow. Any questions?
Questions for Virginia? Okay, thank you very much. All right, what's our next step?
I guess the next step is whether you want to give some direction at this time to town management, my office, to pursue a different option than what you did at the last meeting. The last meeting was pursue at least the option, which I think was brought back to you this evening, at least some bare bone terms. We've not negotiated that. So if you want to give some direction, that's what we would need next.
Okay,
I
John.
would like to make,
Mr. Mayor, the vet committee brought up a good point, which is that we've already picked out which car and we're trying to decide, you know, if we want the radio or not. I don't know that I picked this car yet. I don't know that we picked this location. I don't know that we did any of that. I don't think that we have given it as a council the appropriate consideration. We just all of a sudden somebody said, hey, come on, do you want to buy this building? Come on, let's chase after it, and we'll run off and do that. We didn't, it wasn't, I don't recall, even one of our priorities anymore. We had taken it off our capital improvements. We'd all five said, no, we're okay with what we got and we're ready to go forward. Now all of a sudden we're being given the bums rush right into doing this. And that is exactly what this is. We're just being pushed right all down the line to get into this building and come on, come on, come on. And if you were, I mean, Virginia had as many ifs as I did. My entire thing started out last time, if we were going to move, then I'd have problems with this. Well, I guess we all decided we're moving. And we're moving to that house. And it's only a question of how much we're going to pay for it. And can I give it all to you now, or can I give it a little bit later? Not like 480, how about 380? Let's start at 380. Let's start at 380 and go back in 2. But no, let's just go 480 and can I give it all to you now? That's not how you do business. I don't know anybody who does that way. I'd sure like to encounter you in some real estate things if you do like to do it that way. But I really think that we have, and it reminds me of the college. Over the library, and we're all going to go to the library. Oh, we're all going to go to the town hall and hang out there. No, I don't see anybody hanging out here. I stay 10 minutes and there's nobody here, and there's nobody here 10 minutes before. So come on. The idea that people hang out there, get a life.
Jim?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to direct town staff to come back at our next council meeting with an option that is to purchase. I think a couple of options that I hear tonight is an outright purchase, and then there was a purchase like a reverse balloon mortgage. You pay a lot up front, and you pay the balance off over a period of time.
That's great.
Then
Let's speak.
if you would, then, so that would be my motion, to come back with the purchase. We've heard a couple options. If there's another one or two that comes up in terms of, in working through the numbers negotiation, I would like to ask our staff to come back to the council without, I reject the lease option as we presented, and to me it makes a lot more sense, makes a lot of sense. To provide something back to us in terms of a purchase agreement. And I don't know if we can, if we had a couple of options that would fit like what we pretty much discussed, if we could actually take that and float that balloon with the council of the county commissioners to see if one or two, if either one of these, can we get the discussion about title to the land transfer to the town with that. It might be enough to chew on by the county commissioners, but to bring it back to us, a proposal to purchase by next council meeting.
Okay, have a second. Okay, I'm looking for a second.
Second for discussion.
Okay, second by Ron. Go ahead.
I agree with Virginia. They've given us, the fact committee has given us guidelines. Okay, if we follow the guidelines, basically, we're going to be answering some questions that we would have to answer if we agreed on purchasing this. First of all, 2 appraisals. I think we need to go by their guidelines. Now, she didn't agree on the $480,000, but she said $480,000 or less. So in other words, it was kind of in that range. But for us to spend another few weeks to come back to this council for us to vote whether to purchase it or not, that's not helping the chamber. And this is an opportunity, okay? It's not something that we're jumping into. This is a good opportunity that I think is worthwhile, and I believe the FACT committee thinks it's worthwhile also. They have the information now that they didn't have a chance to get, and it wasn't the chamber's fault, I don't believe. I believe he's gotten all this information together as soon as he possibly could, but now they have the information that they can discuss, go over, or whatever. So I would like to direct staff to do whatever it takes so that we can, if we decide to purchase this building, that we can, and I believe the chamber said that whatever we spend on an engineer to inspect it, whatever the committee recommended, whatever funds we spend on that, 2 appraisals, each one less than $1,000. Now, I believe according to our charter, we could get by with 1 appraisal. But if the FACT committee recommends 2 appraisals, then let's get 2 appraisals so we can compare. And if we decide to buy this building, I believe I understood Wayne to say that whatever money that we put forth into prepping and we decide to buy it, that'll be considered towards the cost of the building. Now, did I misunderstand that, Wayne?
Councilman, you did, but for $2,000 worth of appraisals, if that was a make or break deal, we'd certainly be willing to accommodate that.
So I would like to, if we're going to vote on something tonight, I'd like to go ahead and do what the FACT committee recommends so that we can decide at our next meeting whether we want to purchase it or whether we don't want to purchase it. I don't want to say, well, we're going to purchase it, so let's get the engineer, let's get the appraisals and stuff. And then when they come back with an appraisal that we don't like and we can't make up our mind, time is of the essence as far as I'm concerned, and it is a good opportunity.
Mr. Mayor? I believe the FACT committee actually did not recommend this project. The Virginia, she will tell you they did not recommend it. If you're looking for a recommendation, then with the information that exists today and the things that Virginia's asked for, let them go back and try it again. But to sit here and say that they recommended it, they didn't. They said there's a whole bunch of holes in this. There are. We haven't said to the guy, what about 380? You know, he just took 2,000 off. So let's try 20, 40, 50. See where they're at. But try something low, not just nickel and diamond. For one thing. And the other thing, there's nobody saying buy this. Except 2 people, probably be a third one in a minute. But you know, there's nobody else coming up here. You don't see a whole bunch of people in this town going, hey, I need this place. I want to come hang out at the town hall. Because I want to see that they're going to be there so we can have the room for them and the TV and everything. They don't have one at home, apparently. And they need to hang out at town hall. But I don't see any of that happening. And I think, once again, we're getting a bum's rush. We're going to end up spending a bunch of these folks' money. That's going to take us a long time to recoup. Okay. And I don't even hear Mr. Underwood saying, could you get this facility for us? Because we're going to use it. They're going to be the ones using it 90%. Ask Mr. Underwood what he thinks.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he's a good politician. But the point is, we have a rush to decide. Time is of the essence. Get her done, get her done, get her done, get her done. And I'm not okay with that. And that's why I'm talking. I'm going to keep talking, just like other people talk louder when they think that they're not getting heard. You know, the thing is, this is wrong. I want you all to know it. Now go ahead and vote.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, I did not include the steps to be taken, trying to follow a normal purchase. You sign a contract, and you have contingencies, appraisal one of them, inspections or other things. But we can ask, I would modify my motion to include the town moves forward in getting effectively an inspection. If we use our engineers, that's, I don't know how much that would cost versus somebody that's in the business to do inspections. And the appraisal, we want to move ahead and do that before we actually have potential agreement in terms of, which is what you would normally do those things after, and there are contingency issues, as you probably know. But I would modify my motion to ask them to come back with a couple of options, but meanwhile, go ahead and at least take into account the appraisal suggestion and the inspection, to give us some information that's quote, a little more scientific, if we will. I would modify the motion to approve it.
Okay, Ron, you've got a second.
I'll second.
Okay. Ryan, any comments?
I think one thing, if we do go forward with purchasing this property, one thing I'll definitely want is more parking space. I don't think there's enough parking there for some of our larger meetings. I probably look for at least another 20, 30 spots. I would ideally, before moving forward with deciding purchasing this property, a more definitive answer from the fact committee.
Okay, and I'm not going to say one way or the other. I'm open, only from the standpoint, and it's kind of like myself. If I can buy a house for less per month than I can rent one, I'm probably going to buy one. But there's a lot of other issues. I've said, I have thought of building something kind of simple, 2 stories here, that would take care of both entities on this property. We already have the property. I'm sure not ready to say we're ready to pay $480,000 cash for this thing. I mean, that's not the way, because I do agree with Tom. I really was not looking for a town hall office. I've seen a lot of towns go that way and make a major costly mistake to the town. Now, at the same time, if I can justify it and say I'm paying less per month than what we were renting for, then maybe I'm open to it. So those are some of the things that I've got to look at. There are concerns. I would want to talk to the county first and float something by him. What are the odds? We've got a county commissioner that we can talk to. I will talk to him and find out, because those are some of the things we're gonna need to do. So it's, but I think it's too quick to be making an agreement tonight to buy it or one way or the other. I mean, we just voted for a lower millage rate, and we're talking about, we got a chance to buy something. So that's funny, but anyway, okay. Virginia, do you want to come up?
May I add something?
Yeah, come up. All right, I've got several other public comments. Go ahead, Virginia.
What I want to share with you is this agenda so troubled me, and the topic of the agenda so troubled me that I called the Inspector General's office, he's sounding board, the contract division, and they were very clear. If there is no information, no detail, you cannot make a recommendation.
Right.
So and that's what we have done. We have kept to what we could only do. Thank you.
Yeah, all of it. This is the first time that I'm seeing this, and which is, I think, the proper way to do it. I mean, I did not want to meet beforehand, because I do not ever want to see the perception that something's already agreed on before we walk into this meeting. So this is the first time I'm seeing these numbers, and which is fine. I've got Keith Harris, and Johnson, Lone Shoe, and John Ryan.
Keith Harris, 2580 C Road. Our town council is a policy-making body that was elected. I have sat here and heard council say we need to help out the chamber. I have heard council say, let's make a new home for the water district. If anything, what in the heck is that? Thank you.
Okay. Ken?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. I think one of the things, many of you have said things that are absolutely true. But when I look at the town office from my point of view, one, it's and I think Jim said this, that it's subpar. It is. It is subpar. Here we've got a town management that we're expecting them to perform tasks for the citizens of this town and to keep things secure. They are now with a rental truck agency. The building is not a secure building. We've had problems with security already, I think. And plus they need more room. They get another room, landlord says another $400 or $500 a month. Is this not correct?
Yeah, we're paying under $500 pretty much.
Yeah. So, you know, that is a problem that we need to get them out of there. Or else get the truck agency out of there, so we can secure it. But then you look at what happens if we get hit by a Category 3, Category 4 hurricane. That building over there may not be standing. This building we're in tonight may not be standing. So how secure is that? We have no secure place for our town government to go. So I think that's one thing. Second thing is, can we afford it? I always look at it from the aspect of, yes, that would be nice, but can we afford it? Will it fit into our budget? I was hoping tonight that maybe our millage would stay up higher than it was voted. That way it would give us some monies available if we wanted to make a purchase at 480 or less. But in defense of what happened at the meeting last night, the committee did not have all of the data. Pure and simple. We could not make a firm decision because we did not have all of the data. We saw a lot of advantages to moving the government somewhere, getting rid of $2,000 a month, getting rid of the storage building, being able to lease that facility if we so desire, to outside organizations and pull in another $1,000 a month. There's some advantages, but we honestly could not make a decision because, as Virginia said, we did not have all of the data. And we need the data to make a firm decision. So that's where we stand. We're sort of neither here nor there. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Mark Shute?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Comments? Mr. Lewitt. Virginia has pretty much recap what the committee has recommended. So my comments are basically my personal observation after last night's meeting. So I want to reiterate that with you. Number one, we talked about premature, the word premature last night. It is true. Without all the cost data and benefit, cost-benefit information, I don't think it would be easy for you to make a decision. So, number one, there was no concrete number, no concrete data, no dollar amount. The dollar amount dropped from 630 to 480. So if you hold on for another hour, then we go down to 220. So, it's a natural problem. But there, like the mayor said, there are a lot of issues that we need to have to keep in mind. And then I brought it up, and I still would like the time to consider that. you will need a cost-benefit analysis very bad. The cost would include how much we actually pay, including those recurring costs, the maintenance, the utility, the water, insurance, and other contingency costs. You need to have that. Mr. Johnson said it very right. Can we afford? So, in order to do that, the cash flow analysis is needed. How much money we have? We have $1.8 million. How much was committed? Can we afford bringing in 150 every year to pay it off in 3 years? If 450 is the case. How to pay it off? Borrow money, use the existing cash flow we have. And of course, there are many benefits to it. Much bigger space, a newer building, safe, bigger parking lot. We don't have to worry about people breaking in like we had before. Took away our computer, and it is unfortunate. And also, we have exclusive right to use the facility, and the potential rental income if we can do that. Extra space outside, we could use it for our host people, our future growth for the town. And there are many, many good things for the building. And of course, there's a cost to it. So I would hope that the town could see a clear, objective cost-benefit analysis with the money that could come in to pay for it and how much we want to pay. Not to pick on Mr. Byrne for his presentation. He was talking about the mortgage right now is $300. They need 150 as a seed money. So that together is 150. So at least that's 30 less than what he asked for. Right there is 50. So I hope that we will get into the negotiation more seriously. Plus all those very objective analysis that Virginia shared with the IG for the county, that we need to come to make an informed decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Lecture. John Ryan.
Can I point out, 2 or 3 people have said something that there's a dichotomy that I just don't get. If you don't like the U-Haul being there now, the reason that U-Haul is a problem is because there are people coming that are not part of the town business. They're just coming for some other random reason, and for whatever reason, that's an issue. If we have a ballet school in there, then we will have other people coming who will have nothing whatsoever to do with the town. Okay? If you're going to have other things in there, if we're going to say we're going to throw out U-Haul because that would give us security, well, when you bring somebody else in, that totally takes away your security. That rental income is your security reduction. So if that is the big thing, then I really think it would be nice that we just have it just for us. And not just any random person can rent space, because we're exposed. I mean, at Riviera Beach renting space to people for a birthday party and ended up with 4 people shot dead. That can happen. You don't know who they are. If we're going to keep it for us, we should keep it for us. We shouldn't turn it into some place where just anybody can be renting it, and pretty soon God knows what goes on there. So think about that. We don't need rental income. We're not a business. We're not a landlord. That's not our function. We could take all the money, we could tax everybody and start buying up houses and renting them out too. You know, we could open a grocery store. We could do all sorts of things. But we're a type of business. We're not in business for that, please.
John Ryan, 3508 A Road. The notes I made on Councilman Rocket's motion were basically to have the town staff come back with really a more studied set of alternatives for the town, not to recommend a purchase right now. I do think that just because this is a unique opportunity to look at free land, so to speak, that it's worth turning over the cards a little bit more. There are a lot of problems. If you own the building, you got to operate it. There are a lot of details in looking at what this option would entail. I know the chamber said that they may need some space for a while. Maybe that's one reason to look at the value of them continuing to occupy some space as a reason to substantially reduce the price. Certainly, we're not going to look at paying full land value when they get it for $1 a year and we could get it for $1 a year. So there are a lot of things that I think the cards that need to be turned over, and I think it's worth at least a detailed look. And I'm not sure we can do it in, the time between now and the next meeting. I think that it may take a little more time than that. It ought to be coordinated through the fact committee. And I think that evaluating the options, and it is an option, we don't have to move right now. We have looked at the fire union property. As you said, we looked at doing something with this property. This is kind of a unique situation, and I think it'd be worth turning the cards over a little bit more.
Okay, thank you, John. All right, Mr. Mayor, may I? Okay, yeah, I really think, and like I said, while he's coming up, I don't want to say no to this because, if there's some way we can get it and pay less than we do for rent, I mean, but we're not ready to make, I don't think we're ready to make a decision tonight. You might think, yeah, at least not toward the purchase.
I just asked for options, I didn't know we were deciding.
Yeah.
I have a motion.
I certainly respect the fact that you have to do due diligence, as I said earlier. There's a few things that have been said, though, that I think the record needs to be corrected. What you see up on the screen tonight is the following. In the town's possession, it was on my memory stick and was part of the something we could have looked at together. I chose not to bore this council with all of the charts and graphs and discussion about Standard & Poor's and Moody's analysis of rent versus buy. But up on the screen, you'll see one of the first slides of many. Statements that nothing was given in terms of detail. That spreadsheet tonight was a summary total of the numbers I presented last night. When I presented these numbers last night, including the rental amounts, including the monthly utility amounts, including the cost of closing as estimated by real estate brokers that I spoke to, including the cost of renovation. That data was all in this presentation that's up on the screen that was presented last evening. When I was asked what I was going to present to the council, I said, for simplification purposes, to not tie up your time and take advantage of the citizens' time with you, I would take that and bring it forward in the same Excel spreadsheet, which is what I did. So statements that no details provided, I frankly take offense. I'm the CEO of a chamber with 1,200 members who are mostly small business, who command time and need help. And I don't want to spend any more of this council's time, of my board's time, or anybody else's time. If you genuinely think there's an opportunity here, whether it's unanimous or whatever the decision is, then I'm asking to move forward in earnest. If you don't, you don't. We'll go look at other options. We have community groups that currently rent space. That's allowed in our current agreement with the county. We can rent more space. There's a lot of other things we can do. I can tell you that my board is not going to sit still for an indefinite period of time. I'm also not trying to rush you. I'm simply saying if you genuinely don't think it's a good idea, say we don't think it's a good idea. We love where we are. We'll wait a few years. The college will be built. There's other things down the road. Whatever happens in between happens. I'm okay. So I'm not asking you to do something for the chamber. I'm not asking you to do something for anybody. We came forward with what we thought was a good faith opportunity and a win all around. As you pointed out, the county is more likely to give the town that land than anybody else. We thought more than anybody else, the town might appreciate having that facility for its citizens and for the business that you conduct. So I came forward, the board came forward in good faith, and not to be chastised, not to be criticized. We don't want you into the chamber. Let's put it on record. If you don't like it, you don't want it, I understand. I appreciate and respect that. But if you think it's an opportunity, as I heard Councilman Rocket say, typically in a transaction like this, the way it's done, standard business practice. There's a dollar amount that's been presented for the sale of the building. We understand that there's caveats with the county. Everybody's on that page together. We all agree. There's nothing not to agree about. But typically you say, either A, we want to make an offer at that price, or we'd like to make an offer at a lower price, or we're really serious about this, and since we see ourselves as partners with a 40-year-old Chamber of Commerce who's been founded in the Western communities, so let's work together as partners. A lot of the citizens are members of this chamber, and let's sit down and talk about a price that we can all agree on. We don't have to manage all the details with legal. Let's just come up with a number, and together go to the county and say, we together, based on these caveats, some work to be done, we're asking you to consider this. It could take them 6 months on their end, with some back and forth like we've been providing information here, with them before they make a decision. So I'm not asking you to go on our timeline or rush based on our timeline. I'm simply saying we're going to move on if you want us to, or we'll stick around. But I don't feel right now that you have, I don't think there's congruency, obviously. I don't think that after hearing the FAC suggest they came forward with nothing, when all I did was take the details that are up on the screen right there that we saw last night and summarize them in an Excel spreadsheet. I don't know of many businesses or governments that make a $500,000 purchase decision. I've heard it now 2 or 3 dozen times. We don't know what the water bill is. We don't know what the electric bill is. Well, I don't know, yours could be 10 times more, 10 times less. It's 500, 600, is it 6,000, is it 60 bucks? You can make a buy decision for the next 50 years for this town based on whether or not you have an exact amount for the water bill, the electric bill, how much light bulbs cost. I mean, the suggestion that there's hidden costs or that not getting the lease that we have with the county is some kind of hidden agenda. If the county deeds the land, rip the lease up, throw it in the garbage. I mean, what's in that lease with the chamber has nothing to do with anything. Either we get them to do what the town wants, and the town gets a great place because they want that place, or not. And so the suggestion there's things being hidden, there's lots more research, we need weeks and months and maybe years to vet this out. It's unfair to the chamber members, and many of them who live right here. It's unfair to waste more of your time, which I do not want to do, or mine, or the good citizens who come every council meeting and share their thoughts. Let's just decide if this is an opportunity or not. Let's get together as partners, as we've been for 40 years, with the people and businesses in this town and our chamber, and let's come to a place that's a win. And if it's not, it's not. But I think that there's some intentionality in spinning some wheels, and I don't think my board would want to continue this process, based on what I've heard so far tonight. So I appreciate, thank you, and I respect everything that you're doing, and the due diligence, and supportive of it. Well, let's walk through it together if you really think this is an opportunity. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor and Council.
Okay. All right, we have a motion, a second.
In keeping with what he said and what Longshore said, I think we should offer him 380 and see what they say. If he wants to say he can back with a counter offer, let's give him a counter offer. And then let's see where they go from there. And we'll see if there's any room to move here. But otherwise, I don't think it's proper. He wants to talk about the proper business relationship, he's right. He said 480, let's say 380. Let's see where we get. See if they'll come back by the next council meeting, maybe we'll be halfway in between. Maybe that'll actually be somewhere. But dithering about with more foolishness, and it isn't going to accomplish it. And I agree with him. You're going to make a decision, the question is, what's the price? My answer is too high. Let's get a better price, let's save $100 grand, then all that other stuff doesn't matter.
All right. Any other comments by council members? Bill?
If I could, Mayor, Council, just to make sure I have clarity on the motion and I'm not misinterpreting. It's my understanding, number one is pursuant to statute, we have to do an appraisal before you do anything. And I think that I understand normal business, but we're not normal, we're government, so we got to do the appraisal. I agree with everything that's been said, and I think we move forward with the issue of getting the appraisals, having, I would think that the issue of last night, as I recall, having an engineer look, make sure that complying with all the code, that's structurally sound, not that contractors might skip somewhere, but that could occur occasionally. And follow those steps. It's gonna take more than the next meeting to come back. And you're probably looking at a second meeting of October, perhaps the first meeting of November, to have all that information, do the analysis, present it back. I'm just trying to be realistic.
And I want you to understand, we're not saying no to the issue, but we're saying that, let's leave ourselves open to a little bit of negotiation, to see what we can come up with. And the cost, I would like to see a good cost analysis. I'm not talking light bulbs. I'm talking about, much like what Jim said. If it's gonna cost us $720,000 just to rent that at $2,000 a month over 30 years, then it's, and if we can save money per month over what we already pay and own a building, then it's kind of a normal thing to do, I'm not saying yes or no, but it comes down to the cost.
That would also allow an opportunity to, I was not sure if I understood, you were going to check with the county commissioner relative to granting land?
I will talk to you about that and find out what his feeling is and on that.
I just didn't know if you wanted us to do it or you wanted us to talk
Well,
to staff over there.
if you would like to, go ahead. I'm willing to do it, but yeah, let's go through the official channels.
It's always better if one politician such as yourself, mayor, speaks with another. I don't mind speaking to the staff.
Okay, and that's fine. Speak to the staff, and see what we come up with. The other thing that I would not be adverse to myself would be you as our management team to see if you can negotiate the best price for this property. If we were wheeling and dealing, we would be able to kick it back and forth. I really don't want to do that in one of these meetings.
Right.
But, let's see what we can come up with. And, the other thing that we pay rent for this building, right?
I think we got free.
No.
We get it free. Free for your meetings.
What's that, for our meeting? It used to be we paid.
We used to pay.
Okay, all right, well, then that's, one time I know we did, so, all right.
Anyway, that is my understanding.
So are we all right with the motion that Jim made is basically
Yeah, the
that?
motion was that you come back at the next meeting with all the other things you said. Based on what you just said, I would modify my motion, but I wanted to see it in the second meeting in October, and if that, you come back on the second meeting in October, second meeting in November?
First meeting.
First meeting, first. Second meeting in October. We're in the second meeting of September, no?
Yes.
Although this is 4 meeting month. So in the second meeting of October, I would want to see you come back. I had asked for it in the first meeting of October, in the motion. So that's not enough time. I would modify it and say, shoot for the second meeting in October. And you come back to us, tell us what you got.
Very good, I'm just trying to.
But that, I would modify it further and I'll see it.
It's going to depend
Almost
on
a second.
contracts and getting people up and going.
What he said is
So as long as the council is aware, they come back second meeting saying we don't have all the contracts.
You're all right with that for a second? Okay. Any other further discussion? Okay, we have a motion, a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign? Okay, passes 4-1.
And I don't think we have any, do we have consensus about having the staff get a final number to negotiate?
What's that
Part
part?
of the motion.
What do you mean, as far as the final?
What you said about staff negotiating?
Yeah, well, no, I think
Part of the
that's
motion.
part of, that's just part of what you're putting together. You're gonna be putting together costs and everything else.
I just wanted to make sure that was part of the motion.
Yeah, okay.
As I understand.
Yeah, I mean, we asked you to bring back a proposal for 2 options under purchase scenario. I hope you talk to the chamber and creative those, as I think was suggested as a partnership.
I'm not entirely sure I understood what the reverse mortgage one was.
Let's try that.
No. Okay. Talk to chief.
I understand.
All right, we have no more new business. Move to closing comments. I have one, March.
Mark Herzog, A Road. In light of Mark not being at a lot of the meetings where our town is represented, are we to assume that now Mr. Underwood would assume all of those assignments? Because I know the council members were also expected to be at these meetings, like the committee meetings. Each council member was assigned to a committee that they were supposed to go to monthly, like the Trails Committee and so forth. The Finance Committee was Ryan. There were other committees. Western Communities Council was someone. The League of Cities, that was Ryan also. And I think Mark has been picking up a lot of these meetings because the council members haven't been going to them on a regular basis, even though it's part of their stipend, the $500 a month, that they're expected to attend these things. So my question is, who's going to pick up the...
Well, I'm assuming that Bill will be taking Mark's place in those items, whatever that Mark was doing, that Bill or somebody else.
And if I could, I don't know very many meetings that I missed, so I don't know if you included the conversation about the Trails Committee. Chairman's here, he could testify to the fact that I'm there. I've been on the IGC committee now for 8 months.
Well, I think the only two that
the concept that I'm not earning my pay is...
the only two that I know that are seemingly being represented are the Trails and the Western Council. I have heard occasionally that people have been there. And I just don't want the ball to be dropped and our town not represented. I mean, we're small enough as it is. We need to have our face out there as much as we can. I mean, we don't have anyone going to the Metropolitan Transportation and planning meetings where a lot of the money for the roads and other transportation-related things are happening that other towns do go to. So, you know, we're talking about negotiating for traffic lights and everything else, but we don't have a player on the field in some of these places.
We also don't have a seat on the field.
That is correct, but we're not even there looking for the option like Royal Palm and Green Acres share the seat.
3 minutes for comment on the infield. I've talked to them about possibly getting an additional seat on the infield. We're still discussing that, but I don't expect any traction with that.
Well, at least attendance.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, Town Attorney.
No.
No official report, no go.
Somebody else.
Go get a wife.
Thank you. Yeah, pretty good first half. Tom?
It's not very nice. The Gators aside, I would like to thank Mark very much for his tenure here with us. For one, I'm sorry to see him leaving. I think we've had a good working relationship, and I wish him
Bob?
Thank you all for coming tonight, and I wish Mark the best in his new endeavors.
Okay, Rob?
Same notion towards Mark, and thank you for everyone for coming, and I'll see you guys in a couple weeks.
Okay, Chip?
One different item, I see the committee that meets tomorrow night. One of the items on the agenda would be taking a look at speed humps and on C Road specifically. I would like they ask them to consider all 4 roads and in that discussion, but I think we should be looking at implementing our standard on 4 roads that were already done, which means removing half the speed humps and redoing the ones that remain. That's something we have not put in our budget, but it's hard to qualify if I don't have any numbers to say this is what we should do. So maybe in conjunction with some output from that meeting, that possibly we can have somebody give an idea as to maybe what it might cost to do that. And we can, as a council item, bring that up in the future if we can get some information as to cost.
Okay.
Other than that, Mark, appreciate you doing the job you've been doing. You've worked hard. You and I have always not agreed, but it's nothing personal. I really do like you, whether it doesn't sound that way. But I do appreciate what you've done. And I do know you work very hard. And I do wish you the best in your next endeavor. And we will miss you.
Now I've got to reprogram my phone, and that's not a major thing. Yeah.
Thank everybody else for coming tonight.
Yeah. Thank you all for coming. Keith, we're past the public, I didn't have another card for it.
I understand that. Would like your indulgence. I want to thank Councilman Rocket for his comments about the C Road. The reason why C Road was named out in the agenda, we received letters from property owners of C Road, but we would be more than happy to consider all roads speed bumps. Thank you.
All right, and thank you all for coming. Again, Mark, thank you very much for your service, and this will be my last one. But to adjourn.
You guys have stuff?
About the overall. Thank you.